You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening, it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week, talking about the landscapes of Northern Arizona. We are at the peak. Mother's Day for this central highlands, this central part of the state. This would be Sedona all the way over to Skull Valley, Prescott, Paulden, all the way down to Cordes Junction, Prescott Valley, Dewey, Humboldt, Mayer, of course, Prescott, this whole circle, Seligman's involved, Ash Fork. We're in the peak of our planting season. So we're getting the likelihood of a last frost is kind of really starting to shrink and disappear. If it does freeze, it will be a flash frost, and that's just gone. And then it's for a couple of minutes, then it's gone. And so I think we are in the thick of planting season, at least at the garden center. We're loaded for bear. We're ready for it. So lots of vegetables, every kind of. Did you know there's two kinds of tarragon? We've got Mexican tarragon and French tarragon. You get all the selection coming out, and so it's peak season. I think you're okay to plant. I mean, just always keep a sheet ready. So if you do see a frost, you definitely want to just throw anything breathable over top of it. That will protect it. So it holds us the warmth of the earth, the garden, underneath that blanket. And then it keeps the frost, it floats it on top of the plant. And so you don't want to use plastic. Plastic is terrible. So plastic actually holds cold in and keeps it there. So it does more damage than good. Breathable materials like burlap. A frost cloth, of course, is a great one. Sheets, a box is great. I had someone last year, they threw their garden hats. I had someone put garden gloves. They put a bamboo stake through the gloves over their tiny little seedlings because they had a real quick flash frost out there. And so get creative, but breathable is the secret. I think you're good to go. Just always kind of watch the weather. I think you'll be okay. We are starting to see a lot of the flowers going in right now. So the veggies have been going in. That's number one department. Actually, the way it works, shrubs are number one because the lilacs are blooming. Butterfly bush came in and they are gorgeous right now. The crepe myrtles came in. So folks have been wanting these flowering shrubs. That's number one. Number two department are the veggies. Vegetables and herbs. We kind of lump that into the same. So tomatoes, peppers, squash, eggplants, and then also the rosemary, lavender, tarragon, oregano, dill, all these types of mainly culinary herbs are number two department. Number three, flowers. Then it'd be trees, pottery, killing bugs. The thrip are as bad as I've ever seen them this year. I'll touch on that. I got to touch on that because they're starting to bother me. They're biting me sometimes. So we'll cover some of these things for you. But that's this show in a nutshell. One theme that I've found with customers this week, at least here in Prescott at Watters Gardens, and one thing that I've noticed is we've got a lot of raised beds and even more containers or pots. So if you've got an older container and some soil in there from last year, or you've got a raised bed and you're adding new flowers, new vegetables, new herbs, whatever. Let me take a sip here to kind of clear my throat. That's good. I got an espresso machine that makes the best coffee. Oh my gosh, it is so good. Anyway, I digress. If you are going to plant or add to your containers or raised beds, make sure you're freshening the soil up. Gardening is so easy if you get the soil right. If you get the soil wrong, you will struggle. You think you have black thumbs. It's just so hard. You get the soil right, you're going, I'm a gardener. It's so easy. Oh my gosh. I throw my hat in the soil. It starts to grow because the soil is perfect. You get the soil right. And gardening is easy. If you guesstimate the soil, you take shortcuts on the soil, you're just not sure about your soil, you're not going to do as well. Your tomatoes will be less. They'll be smaller. Your flowers won't have as many buds. They won't bloom as long. You won't have as many butterflies. The sunsets will not be as bright and crisp as if your soil is just right. And so the soil, if you've got great big pots, and I've got some massive pots, containers. I've had a couple back surgeries. It's hard for me to bend over anymore. I just don't want to get on my hands and knees. I want to be up here, sitting on the edge of the raised bed, up sitting on my chair, doing my raised beds or containers. And so I have a lot of containers that way. And the soil in my backyard is awful. I mean, I guess I'm overlooking the dells. The vistas are spectacular, but boy, is that ground hard. North slope. So it stays wet. It's gooey. It's thick. It's clay. It's the hardest gardening I've ever done is this house. And I've gardened all over. I've farmed all over the county. This is the hardest, but I figured it out. Abandon the soil. Go for bringing all your new stuff. Just raise beds. I've got retaining block I got from Yavapai block downhill. And then I backfill behind those retaining blocks. And now I've got beautiful soil. And on the patios, I just have big pots, big container, trees, roses, rosemary, hydrangeas are in containers because it's so easy, so pretty. They're like pieces of art sitting there on my patio. If you're going to plant in these containers and you need to add new plants in there. So let's say if you do an annual garden, or you're going to put new vegetables. If you're doing that, make sure you're adding some fresh soil to that container garden every year. So what I try to do is I'll see where last year's tomato was growing, or last year's zinnias, last year geraniums, whatever was in there last year. I'm trying to dig that out aggressively, all the roots out. I've got my garden tub right there, and I try to get that out of there. I'm not just getting the roots out. I'm getting the roots and all the soil around those roots out of there. And what I'm trying to do is make room for additional potting soil. So there's basically 3 types of soil you're going to find at a garden center. I don't care if it's a box store or a garden center like Watters. There's basically mulch or compost. It's a composted wood material. You've got topsoil, which is basically compost with some sand to add some weight so it doesn't blow away. Now, I guess you've got manure. Okay, you've got that, not really a soil. Then you've got potting soil. So those 3 main soils are mulch, topsoil, and then potting soil. Potting soil is our grower's mix. It's what our plants are started in. If you can give a plant, let's say you're buying you're buying a new Calipricoa or Million Bells Petunia or a new Sunbelievable sunflower. You're buying one of these. If you can give that plant, put it in your pot and give it more of what it knows automatically, it just thrives. You can't go wrong. It's just so easy because they don't like to change soils. Plants don't adapt well. They like sameness. So I'm trying to add pockets. Now, a lot of my containers have perennials anchoring that container, or my raised beds have a rose bush, but I want to skirt it with zinnias or alyssum, Million Bells petunias, those wave petunias that just spread out and so beautiful. It's a great design. And so I'm trying to take some of that soil out so I can add some fresh potting soil. If you do that, your success will quadruple. I mean, it's just so easy as long as you're watering. So we got the water factor, but if you get the soil right, that's the number 1 thing. The number 2 thing is water, but they make tools for this. Just get a water meter. The easiest thing ever. If you're new to gardening, new to the area, let's say you're from the South where it's more humid. You're from the Northwest where it rains a lot more. Well, you're going to adapt. You're going to have to water more here because it's dry and arid. You can feel it in your skin right now. You can feel the dryness in the air. Your plants feel that too. Well, a moisture meter, a $10 tool can stick it in there and goes, oh, looks like it's dry. It helps you monitor how long it takes for your gardens to dry out. Or what I do is I frequently plant. I got a feel for how to water my plants. I'm doing this for decades, and I know my gardens now because we've been in this house for quite a while. So, but sometimes this transition, spring is a hard time. We're going from cool nights to warm nights. You're going to have to be watering more now all of a sudden. So I'm adjusting my clocks and getting things ready. When that happens, I'm watching the canary in the coal mine. I like watching my pansies. They're real crybabies. They're just whiny crybabies. They get dry, they get cold, they lay down. They just go, oh, I'm so dry. Oh my gosh, the sun. They let you know when their lettuce will do that to you. Tomatoes. can do that. As they get bigger, they start to wilt at the end of the day, going, oh, okay, looks like I need to water a little bit more in the morning to get them through. So you're watering. Probably right now, I've got things set for every 3 days, my containers, every 4 days, in my raised beds. I might bump that up as we get into the 80s. Then as we get in the 90s, it's every day. I want them to make sure they're happy and healthy and growing like crazy. We got a lot in store for you, but Lisa Watters Lain is coming in with your garden questions right after this. Watters Garden companion plants in May are purple robe locust, vine achevia, Prescott sunshine geraniums, and easy elegant roses.
Just plant these roses in a sunny spot and enjoy.
We've married the beauty of long stem roses with the easy care of shrub roses for landscape color like no other plant in the backyard.
Choose fragrant reds, radiant pinks, corals, vivacious yellows, and stately whites.
Extremely fragrant and only found locally at Watters Garden Center in Prescott. And we are back with Lisa Watters Lain in the studio. She comes each week, stumbling already with
Easy for
your
you to say.
garden questions. Just what are neighbors talking about? What are other gardeners that we can learn from? What are the questions, and how have we helped them to be better gardeners? So welcome to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, it is good to be here. It's kind of nice to take a little break for a second.
Yeah.
So I think on Tuesday we had like 7 semis stacked up down the high. We kind of like, oh my gosh, they weren't all full trucks. It just kind of lots of little loads.
Lots
So
of little
things
loads.
going.
Makes a lot
Kinda
of
exciting.
plants. You
It
betcha.
does have a lot of plants. So someone came in and said, whoa, you couldn't put another flower in here. So everything you see is going to be gone by the weekend. We'll have to restock. So
Right.
we move a lot of plants this time of year.
We do.
So what kind of
Definitely.
garden questions we got?
So our first question is from Pam, and this is showing up a lot right now. She says, I have a clear, sticky substance,
Yeah.
I can't talk either, on my roses. Is that from aphids? And what is the best treatment?
Yeah, clear, sticky. It can be on more than just roses. It could be on pine trees. I've seen it on apple trees. Sometimes
Peaches,
yeah,
pears.
peaches. They love fruit trees. Some pine trees are a natural, but different kind of aphid, but it's still an aphid. They're related. They're cousins. So yeah, it's called excrement or honeydew is the kind way to say aphid poop is out there spewing, giving that glossy thing. They have a piercing mouth part. They suck the sap out of the new growth of your roses or rose buds, and then they poop out the sap as they digest it, and it leaves this residue. It has this shiny, looks almost wet, where it spills down. The rocks underneath your trees can look like, wow, did the sprinkler system go off? What's happening? Why is it can spot your car if it's a big ponderosa pine or something. So if you see spots on your windshield or your hood, that's from aphids up in the trees. You should get rid of them. And so what to do? So the internet or organic gardeners say, hose them off. I will never give you that advice because you'll be hosing them off every day for until summer. If you're going to take the time to hose them, add a bug killer. And so this time of year, I would say the easiest thing right now, the safest, least expensive, least offensive, safest for you, the pets, the dogs, is horticultural oil. Oils are a heavier oil than neem oil. Neem oil is what we use in the summer. Right now, it's cool enough at night where you could actually put on a heavier oil, which coat their body and just obliterate them and their eggs. Did you know that aphids are the only bug that give live birth? And they lay eggs. It's like they go from one aphid to they're covered hundreds in like a week. And that's why they're populating like crazy.
They're asexual
multiplying.
too.
They're asexual. Don't need a boy and a girl. I got this covered myself. And so they just keep replicating. What other tidbits?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
They do change color depending on what they're
That's
eating.
true.
So they can be red and green and black and they change. Generally, they'll be green. So they take on the same. So for Pam, her roses, they're eating the rose to that stem. So they'll be that color because that's what they're eating. They take on whatever color that they're eating. So spray them with horticulture oil. I would say sayonara could work. Kind of anything kills an aphid because you got a soft body. Or if you really want to have fun, get a bucket of ladybugs. And here's how you release them. So you take a bucket. So we've got a bucket of 500 ladybugs. And so you take them home that night. You keep them kind of refrigerated. So you want them to be slow. You want to slow down their metabolism. And then at night, you hose down where the aphids are, hose down that rose bush, whatever. And then you release them at night because they're not nocturnal. They only fly around during the day. So you release them at night at the base of the plant. And they're going to go, as they warm up, they're going to go, oh, well, I can't fly right now, but I see this plant. I'm going to start crawling up this thing. And if they stumble across aphids, they're going to stay there until the food source is gone. And as soon as the food source is gone, your aphids are out of there and thrip. What they'll do is they'll go, okay, I'm still hungry. I'm going to take flight and fly to the next plant. Here's the beauty if you've got kids. Every ladybug that's ever spotted during this next season, you get credit for. Whether they flew in from like North Dakota or you get credit because you released ladybugs in your gardens. So you're going, oh, I remember that. That's pretty cool. That's great. So ladybugs are fun. So, and they are highly effective, but they're going to stay right there. They're going to solve your problem right there. And then they're going to move to the next, wherever the food source is. They're ferocious. I think a ladybug can eat 500 aphids.
I know it's a lot. But the other thing with the ladybug, so if they lay eggs, the larvae form of the ladybug is actually more voracious than the ladybug itself. Yeah. So it doesn't look like a ladybug. It looks like a little dragon, black and orange dragon. Yeah. But they actually eat more than the official ladybug.
So ladybugs. Release ladybugs. Pam, come in and get some ladybugs, or just spray it with some horticultural oil.
Whichever you choose.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question is from Mike. He wants to know, will Japanese honeysuckle work to stabilize a hillside, or is there any other suggestions you might have?
Yeah, Mike, that's a great question, actually. So erosion control, hillsides, we live in the mountains. And so even a flat, say the valley, Chino Valley, when you see a monsoon rain hit that valley and you see a 4-inch wall of water coming at you going to the big Chino, it's an eye opener. You want to hold your soil down. And so grasses are nature's way in the valley areas of doing that, whether it's a pampas grass, the big one, bear grass, which is a native, or just ground covery things, or ground cover cotoneasters. But honeysuckle is probably at the top of the list. So it's a good choice, Mike. I think that's great. So there's several types of honeysuckle. And so they make ground cover varieties, but all honeysuckles can either climb up a trellis or over an arbor, or you take that bamboo stake out, fan out the tendrils or the vines, and just pin it down and start having it grow in the direction that you want. And it will hold it solid. And so that's probably a good one. Another one that's sort of like that, the native-y one, it's called trumpet creeper when it's used as a ground cover. So it's got a great big red flower. It's called trumpet vine when it's grown up things. So if you're going up a rock wall or up a fence or up a pergola, up an arbor, it's called a trumpet vine. If it's on as a ground cover, they call it trumpet creeper. Notorious for fast growth, big red flowers, and holding the soil down. It's another great choice. That's one, Mike. It's just a simple email. We can't go through. You got to come in and see us, and we'll walk you through and show you all the things that are. We have an entire section, knee high and below shrub section, right next to the vine section. That's your people. You want to look at those because they're all good at holding down the earth, the ground, the gardens, keeping things in place. Mike, come see us.
Okay. Come on in.
Come on in.
Next question is from Phil. I think we got time. He wants to know, can you top an arborvitae or will that damage it?
Yeah. Can you top arborvitae? So I would say we can also put in that. It's actually a good question. Who'd that come from?
Phil.
Sorry, Phil. So Phil, you can top arborvitae. You can top Deodar cedars, Colorado spruce. Do you top things with a central leader? And will it recover? The answer is no. It's not gonna. You'll lose its shape. So if it's just getting too big and it's up in the eaves, what choice do you have? It's probably above head high, so you wouldn't see the butchery as you top it. But is it going to regrow another leader going up? It'll take years. And so generally, those are not plants we hedge. We just let them grow and take their shape. They're easier to shape from the sides than they are at the top. But I understand if you've got to top this thing because it's banging up against the window. It's too close to some structure. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You just have to call it. I would say top it if you have to. If you don't have to, don't do it because it'll look bad. But if you have to, top it, settle with it, see if you can live with that. And you know what? I know a really great garden center can sell you a different plant that's probably better for that space that if you can't recover. So I would say best not to if you can, Phil, but if you have to, go for it and see how it looks when you get all done. That's all the questions we've got time for. So Ken and Lisa Lain will be right back after. Watters companion plants in May are Vining Akebia, Indian hawthorn, Prescott sunshine geraniums, and purple robe locusts.
Incredible long clusters of purple flowers in May that look just like wisteria flowers hanging from this local bloomer.
The 8-inch fragrant flowers cover the tree profusely.
Super hardy and drought tolerant with a brisk growth rate of 2 feet in 1 year.
It's just the perfect backyard shade tree.
You'll find the shadiest trees here at Watters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
So I have been out unloading literally thousands of roses. It is rose season. And so what you'll find at your garden centers, they've had bare root roses for the last 2-3 months. And bare roots, they're okay. Get a lot of choices with that, but the success rate is dismal. Oh my gosh. Have you ever got to hone your skills as a gardener to plant a bare root anything? Then you've got containerized. That is, that bare root plant. That plant was rooted out into a grower's container, the perfect medium. They're nurtured. They're grown to perfection. They're leafed out, and now they're in full bud. These are plants that have been nurtured. They're typically 2 years older than a bare root plant. We've had them at the farm, rooting them out. You can't put those in the ground too soon, or they can be exposed to frost. And so the frost won't kill a rose bush, but it nips off all the buds. Well, if we want the perfect rose, hundreds of them, ready for Mother's Day weekend, which could possibly frost, we're not quite sure, we'll wait. We prune them back so that they all come into bloom at the same exact time, right this weekend. And so we'll time this so that all these roses are coming just at the last possible moment of possible frost, so that now we can commit to a lot of them and not have to worry about weather taking away the buds. It won't affect the plant at all. It just keeps them in bloom. Of course, people come to the garden center for inspiration, for beauty. They want to smell and touch and taste and just be romanced by this plant in full color. That's a good rose. And so we are famous for that kind of rose. And so I'd say probably 20% of the garden center right now literally is dedicated to roses. I look like I've been in a cat fight. So the last few days, I'm just wearing long sleeves to keep me from being scratched up by roses. Roses do amazingly well here in the mountains of Arizona. And let me tell you why. Because they are, well, first of all, anything with a thorn is probably going to do well in Arizona. That's okay. We got that out of the way. But they love the dry. They love the brightness. We don't get all the issues that the Midwest gets with all that humidity. I mean, roses really don't like that because there's things that eat all the sugars inside their flowers and inside their leaves. We don't get, they love to go through this cycle of resting for a bit in the winter and then coming back and going into full bloom. They need this rest, ebb and flow cycle so they can take all that energy and show off. We don't have that many bugs. Yeah, we get some thrip and aphids. They're so easy to care, to deal with. Just spray them. They're fine. Use a rose food with systemic. You won't have bugs. It's super easy. So we don't really have the bugs. We don't get the mildew, the disease. Get a little bit of powdery mildew, but again, so easy to deal with if you know what to look for. The dryness and the brightness makes for a better rose. And so they will continually bloom from now through pretty much. I had rose buds on my bushes into November. It was close to Thanksgiving. It was amazing. So they weren't in full bloom in Thanksgiving. We're still getting frost and stuff, but they had buds. As a gardener, you're inspired. And so whether you grow a climbing rose, they have floribunda roses. These are long stem roses that you're going to go buy for your mom this weekend. To get her a rose bush. She can grow her own and pick them for the entire season. They're easy to grow. You've got floribunda roses, which is a long stem rose with a cluster, almost like a firework has gone out. Instead of one big rose, you've got a cluster of lots of roses at the end of that long stem. You've got miniature roses. They just get cute and small. The smaller flower, smaller bush, 2 by 2 by 2 instead of 4 by 4 by 4. Just they're half size. You've got ground cover roses. These are things that just they're basically ground cover. They're carpet roses is what they call them, but they just get maybe not even knee high, and then they spread. They got this beautiful peach, red, white, apricot roses. They've got all kinds of colors to them. They're beautiful, and they bloom nonstop from now through. And a lot of the new roses, so the carpet roses, there's a called first edition or shrub roses. We're introducing these, so now you don't even need to prune them. They actually prune themselves. So when they start to bloom, typically your grandparents, they had to count back 3 nodes, cut it a 45-degree angle before it would set another flower. It needed help or coaxing. Now we've bred roses that bloom and then self-prune, drop that flower off, set another one all by itself. I mean, if you have not tried to grow rose in the mountains of Arizona, you don't have to be, you can be a novice gardener and be greatly successful at growing roses in your backyard. Nothing will bloom like them. Well, maybe a butterfly bush comes close. I guess autumn sage, there's a little tiny rose bush, or sage bush that blooms pretty well, but the flowers are not as impressive. Russian sage, big blue spiky thing, but again, the flowers aren't as big and impressive, and they don't smell the same. Roses are unique and easy to grow in the mountains of Arizona. Ken here at Watters Garden Center, and we had a new flower come in. It's one of my favorites. We got it last year as a test, soft launch. This year we went all in because it performs well. It's a new sunflower. It's called Sunbelievable. And the reason it's called Sunbelievable is supposed to put 1,000 flowers on, 1,000 sunflowers per year. I don't know if it does 1,000, but it does hundreds and hundreds, I can tell you that. So this is done, it automatically sets a new flower by itself. So a new one's coming up. So it's always got more flowers coming up. Unbelievable flowers. Those Sunbelievable flowers, sunflowers, here at Watters Garden Center, available for your gardens this year. And we are back with Lisa Watters Lain, and she has brought in a studio full of bloomers. Smells good in here. Welcome back, Lisa.
Thank you.
You've been playing with the flowers, I see.
So it is definitely that time of year when almost everything's in bloom that's going to bloom. So we have a stunning selection of annual flowers that are blooming. So one season now through a hard frost, October, November. But we also have a lot of great perennials in that will give you a full season of color as well. I like to mix them so that I get some perennials that I know are going to come back, but I like to throw some other color in there that maybe you can't find in a perennial. So I'll throw some annual color in there. So I think it's fun to mix. And it's certainly easy to do in the ground or in containers, however you want to do it.
I did a tune-up on our drip irrigation, front and back. So, and the container gardens are all self-watered. That is, we got a drip system that waters everything for us. And so it's kind of had some broken heads, a valve wire had rusted off, or the nut just needed to be just tweaked, needs tuned up. You need to tune up your irrigation like you do a car. And so I went through it. So you are good to go.
I know.
It's like the irrigation is going. I might have them off, but you just open them right up and they'll start watering your flowers like now. So have fun.
Now I just need time.
Yeah, well, June is coming for garden center owners.
That's right.
It's almost past Mother's Day.
Yes.
We get time to. The peak is here.
Right.
The team is really coming along. They're starting to. They're enjoying. So we're teaching them how retail. And so they're going, hey, that boss, this is great. This is fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah. How about this one? Let's put this together. Look, they look great. So they're enjoying the whole design thing with flowers.
Good. Good. So the first flower I brought in is actually an annual. So it's one season. This is a Sunbelievable sunflower. So we tried one of these last year in a container, and I don't think it was ever out of bloom.
It was crazy.
It literally just
Hundreds of
bloomed.
blooms.
Yeah, all season long. Great plant for containers. Great plant for sun spots where you've got that heat or that's full sun going. It's just an amazing little plant.
This is related to our native sunflowers, but it's sterile. So
Right.
it doesn't put a seed. It never focuses on seed. So you're not going to get sunflower seed. What that does is, as it gets done blooming, it goes, oops, I should try to seed again. So it puts another flower right after, just automatically self prunes, gets it going, and sets another flower just like that. But it's got the same sunflower head to it, same bright, like summer yellow with a splash of orange and a black center. And literally, this plant just came off the truck, and it has over a dozen flowers already.
Mm-hmm.
It got about knee high, about knee wide.
Yeah.
And as it gets
Knee
bigger,
wide.
it just goes even more.
It does.
Flowers. I noticed full sun.
Yeah.
I think this year we're going to take one, and it needs more sun because we had in the backyard where it got mostly sun.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'd do full on, like blistering hot.
Out in the front of the house. Yeah.
Fuller sun. Yeah.
Definitely.
The garage or something, reflective wall. Who would like that? Sunflowers are great for here.
So a great one to try, especially if you think you have a black thumb and you can't make things bloom.
Can't go wrong with this.
This is excellent for that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sunflower. It's a good name too.
It is. It is. So this next one is a salvia, and everybody's going, another salvia.
We're so bulletproof.
But this is a new one out that we've gotten.
Look on the camera.
And the name of it is So Cool Pale Blue. So Cool Pale Blue. So and it is. It's just a really nice, it's not the dark purple.
There we go.
It's just a really attractive color. It'd be really pretty with some yellow around it or some darker purple around it. Just very pretty. And because people ask, will the hummingbird still like it?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like
they
candy.
don't care if it's red or blue or orange or whatever. So it's definitely a hummingbird attractor plant. Full sun. It's another one that just really animal resistant too. But it just blooms all season long. It's like they're never really out of bloom. So just a super easy one to grow.
So a shrub, I call it a herbaceous shrub, gets about knee high, maybe 3 feet if you're optimistic. And then it just has this nice mounding shape, very low care. Mm-hmm. And in the winter, next spring, you just give it a quick haircut, trim it back about halfway. Fertilize it with small purpose plant food, and it does this again, just like that. Its most famous cousin, or the original, is red. So there's several red varieties. You've never seen a blue variety. This is So Cool Blue Salvia.
Yes.
That's the new name. So it's a brand new variety. You're only going to find this at your local garden center. We're the only one that has this in the central area here.
Right.
It's just so unusual.
We actually had it special grown.
Yep.
So you won't find it everywhere.
This is where it pays to be watching the
blog,
video person, the podcast on Spotify or Apple, because they do the video piece. You can watch it and listen to it.
Mm-hmm. That is true. So the next one I brought in is a lantana. This is a new lantana. It's called Casablanca. It is also a perennial lantana. So they're coming up with some lantanas that will winter over in our area.
Truly amazing.
So they want a nice warm spot, especially in the wintertime. So it'll go dormant, but we want it in a radiant heat spot where it's getting some good heat around it in the wintertime. So this one gets about 18 inches tall. It's going to spread to 2 to 3 feet wide. So it'd be great for those perennial beds, great in containers, really nice kind of orangey, peachy yellow color to it. Yeah. So this is the newest edition. There's also Miss Huff and Marianne that are also perennial lantanas. But
We're
this
trying
is
to find
cool.
more varieties of lantana because they just love the heat. They're
do.
famous down in Phoenix.
Yeah.
There's so many varieties down there. Most of them are annuals. That is, they're going to die out in the winter. Up here, these do not. These actually will winter over for you. Many times they reset like a perennial. They'll rest underground. You prune them back. They come back with vigor next spring from the roots.
Right.
So lantanas are great. If you've got a brutal hot spot, you're up on that ridge line, wind and sun, lantana is your friend.
That's true. It is very animal resistant as
yeah.
well. It has kind of a rough sandpaper leaf and kind of an odor to it that animals don't care for.
Yeah.
It's a great hummingbird and butterfly attractor as well.
I notice swallowtails
Oh,
love this plant. Just you're going to have butterflies, but our state butterfly is not
the monarch.
It's not monarchs. It's the double-tailed swallowtail. That's what
double-tailed swallowtail
or whatever.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know. Next one is foxglove. Or digitalis. This one's huge. You can't get all of it in the picture. This is such a cool plant. It's not a new plant, but it's a really cool plant, especially for those shady areas, up under a porch, on a deck, where it's just getting not much light, maybe some morning sun, afternoon sun. But boy, does it just bloom, these long lasting blooms that are just spectacular. Is it a lightsaber?
A real tall plant. Yeah, it's kind of like a flower lightsaber. It's so tall. It's probably standing 2-3 feet tall already with, I don't know, 50 flowers on it in this purple pink flower color. Right. But hummingbirds love it. Digitalis or foxglove also is animal resistive. So your javelina, deer, rabbits, they're not going to bother this. It's got a smell and a taste that they just don't like. It's its natural defense to keep the animals off of it. So great plant for that shaded or covered patio in a container. Super long bloom cycle, and it's true perennial. It'll come back from the roots.
Yeah, so real pretty one to put out there right now, especially if you're doing a party or something, a graduation. Boy, you want something spectacular. That'd be it.
Put this in, surround it with like Million Bell or alyssum or what else? Probably some coral bells. There's some or heuchera.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, just be spectacular.
Definitely. So another really good plant for those sunny areas. So this is Veronica. A nice tall spiky plant.
It's a big plant. My goodness.
It's huge, isn't it? This one's the dark blue. It also comes in, I think, a pink color, maybe a light blue, or just at a time. Another great plant for those really hot sunny spots. Nice perennial, going to come back every year. It would also look terrific in a container.
Moody Blue Veronica. With that, we are out of time. Lisa, thank you for sharing. You got more to go. Come see all the perennials or summer beautiful flowers here at Watters Garden Center. With that, we'll be right back after this.
There's nothing like tomatoes picked fresh from your garden.
Watters Mountain Tomato Collection are varieties proven to produce and thrive. Heirlooms, beefsteaks, cherries, naturally grown for local success.
Completely organic, never genetically altered, and utterly delicious. They're ready for your garden now.
You can grow your own this spring, and we can help. Watters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Shop Watters in-store or online at wattersgardencenter.com.
All right, so we are back here on the Mountain Gardener. I've got a special friend, guest, a guy who helps us with our trees. So he's with the best tree growing company, I think, in the country, if not the planet. He's with J. Frank Schmitt. They have been around for as long as we've been around. So 63 years this spring. You guys have been around even longer, 79 years. 79 years, J. Frank Schmitt. So you obviously have not been with them for 79 years, but the company is still family owned after just shy of 100 years old. So impressive. So how long have you been? Tell us about tree growing, J. Frank Schmitt. What's it like to just kind of let the listeners know, maybe not just so much about your trees, but how did you get into this? Like how long have you been doing this?
So I started working at a Kmart Garden Center.
Oh, you're kidding. You're dating yourself right there.
In 1979. So I've been in the business for a long time. So, but that Kmart Garden Center put me through college.
Really?
So it was a fantastic start and I loved it.
Yeah.
It was year round. So.
I worked for my second job out of high school was for Kmart.
Yeah.
And they had me working. I wish I'd worked in the garden center. They had me working the blue light specials. Hey, come on down over the lipstick section. We're also selling hot dogs. You want to come on out for the next 5 minutes? You know, that whole thing. They'd have a blue light special kind of basically.
Oh yeah. Did it all for 6 years.
They knew I liked a microphone, especially whole store microphones. So anyway,
Yeah.
it's fun times.
It was a fun time. So I started way back when, and I've been in the horticulture business
Ever since. Really? Was your degree in horticulture or what?
No, my degree was in geography.
Really?
I was going to be a map maker.
Oh,
So that kind of got derailed.
interesting.
Yeah. So I didn't want to live in St. Louis, Missouri.
Is that where all the map makers are?
That's where the U.S. Map Agency was at the time.
Really?
And that was really the only opportunity for me. So I decided against that, and I stayed in retail.
Gotcha.
So.
And retail. And then so when did you switch from retail and jump over to the grower side?
So I was always in charge of the garden shop.
Okay.
My last job was at a company called Gemco, which is now part of Target.
Yeah.
And so I oversaw the garden shop. So I knew the sales rep for a gentleman who worked for Color Spot Nursery.
Really?
So he got promoted, and then I ended up backfilling.
Took his spot.
And it took his spot. And that was in 1989. And so I became, went to the grower side of the business then.
And that was out of what part of the country? Is that Oregon or is
Northern California?
Northern California. So a lot of growers in Northern California, a lot of growing because of the moisture, humidity, climate's perfect. They don't just grow big redwood trees. They grow big shade trees or big fruit trees or big, more consistent.
Everything you can think of, from annual bedding plants up to shade trees and fruit trees. Yeah. So, and then I went through management with a couple different companies. And then since then I've been with J. Frank Schmitt for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So now why J. Frank Schmitt as opposed to maybe some of your competitors? What makes you all special? And if you can't say that, I'll tell them, but I'd rather have it come from you. You've got incredible trees.
Well, they are the premier tree grower in the world, really.
Yeah.
And when you've been in business 79 years and you're still family owned, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So they know what they're doing. They know how to grow trees. They know how to develop new trees and new products. And they're just the best, best of what they do.
What I like about J. Frank Schmitt trees. So we fly up to your farm and we handpick every year the trees. So we get the best of the best, or we just go, oh, I like the way that looks. Oh my God. And then you can tell us the new genetics and new varieties, what's looking good in Albuquerque or Park Lake or Denver, because they're going to be the same climate. So I know they're going to do well here. Just, we get the insider tips on that. What I like is you take your time. You'll grow that tree out an extra 2 or 3 years. So that's perfect. You'll take the extra scaffolding or the structure of that tree and make sure it is perfectly balanced. Whereas a lot of growers take shortcuts. They just have this whip, very, very few branches on it, and it's got a dog leg to it. It just looks terrible. I'm embarrassed for them. None of your trees, each one is perfect. This is when people come here to Watters Garden Center, they want the perfect tree. And so we go up and we know your trees are going to be glorious. So anyway,
they are. And they are. We spend a lot of time and money pruning and grooming our trees, more than any other company there is. And when you drive down the roads where our container trees are held and grown, the only tree you're going to see when you look down a row is the tree right on the edge of that row, because they're all exactly the same behind it.
Absolutely. So now, insider tips. If for those tuned in, we're just talking about you and your farm or whatever. That's great. They can find them here. That's fine. But what are some insider tips maybe we can give folks on how to grow a better tree, a faster tree? How do we get more balance? How often should they prune? What's something we can share with them that maybe they could use after the show is over and go, wow, that was good. I'm going to go try that.
I think one of the most important things about when you plant a new tree is how much water you give it.
Okay.
A lot of people think that if you plant a tree in your grass in the backyard or front yard, that the sprinkler system is going to take care of that tree. Right. And that's not true.
That's true. Yeah.
These trees have to be deep watered for the first year, even in the winter time.
Yeah.
Even after, unless you get a lot of snowpack, you still need to water your trees, and you need to deep water them. You need to put that hose on them and let that hose trickle on a tree for 15 to 20 minutes at least.
Yeah.
And that in the summertime, it's twice a week.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, and then the fertilizer, if you really want that tree to grow, you need to fertilize it once a month with some type of all-purpose or tree fertilizer.
Yeah, for that first year.
For that first
so
year.
Especially if you're going to get it. So you got to get the roots from that. Say it's a 15-gallon size tree. That's the average. Yeah, that we sell some bigger, some smaller, but 15 seems to be the norm. So that's a close to a 2-foot deep root, and maybe it's 18 inches round. And so you put that in the ground, and you need to have water push through that root zone all 2 feet, and then a little bit more. So you're encouraging the roots to chase after that water deeper, a deeper rooted tree. Whereas a lawn or something a more frequent but lighter watering, the water doesn't go all through the entire root zone. So you start to lose the bottom parts of the root. You only have real shallow root structure. When a windstorm or a drought or something happens, all of a sudden that tree suffers or dies or it looks awful because it was never encouraged to root as deep as it should have been.
Yeah. And then actually sometimes I've seen it where the roots actually grow up to the level of the soil and start going out, which is really detrimental to the tree.
So the roots are growing above ground, you're saying, or running across just underneath the surface of the grass or the mulch or the running over to the flower bed. They're trying to find water.
Correct. Because
they were never encouraged to go real deep. They're running over across the yard trying to find the food and the water.
So then the tree spends more time searching for water than it does growing.
Yeah.
So
Oh, interesting. So it's going to be focus that growth on the root structure because it's starving. It wants to find. It's going to try to live. So it will sacrifice growth up top in order to get more roots down to go to find that flower bed over there or the shrub row over here. It's focused on roots.
Right.
I get that right?
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
does make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think food. I think for my experience here in the mountains of Arizona, digging the right size hole. Sometimes we've got rocks and caliche layers, just nasty stuff. Putting the energy into that hole as you're planting it, and then amending that so the roots want to grow. It loosens up the soil, keeps it lighter so the roots can get through easier. And then the deep rooting, and then there's no food in our soil.
Mm-mm.
You've got to supplement some nutrients in there to make that plant really flush out fast. This is especially important if you've got privacy screens or windbreaks. You don't want to see that neighbor like tomorrow. Like I need them gone. Encourage that thing to grow fast, and regular feeding is and I think organic foods are a better source. So
if you're going to buy a tree and spend the time, and spend your hard-earned money on a tree, then make sure that you're going to get
grow.
the amendment and the fertilizer and take care of it.
That's a good tip. So Mike Neenan with J. Frank Schmitt, the premier, I would say the Mercedes, the Lexus of tree growers. And you're our main tree guy here at Watters Garden Center. Thank you, Mike, for being here.
Thank you.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more on the Mountain Garden. Watters Garden companion plants in May are purple robe locust, Vining achevia, Prescott sunshine geraniums, and easy elegant roses.
Just plant these roses in a sunny spot and enjoy.
We've married the beauty of long stem roses with the easy care of shrub roses for landscape color like no other plant in the backyard.
Choose fragrant reds, radiant pinks, corals, vivacious yellows, and stately whites.
Extremely fragrant and only found locally at Watters Garden Center in Prescott. If you have never tried to grow Clematis is it's called the queen of the garden. She's a beautiful, animal resistive, loves bright, sunny areas, and her roots shaded in the cool. So heavy mulching the root section. The soil does not want to be sunburned for a Clematis vine. They're grown up fences. Trellises are kind of their thing. Pergolas up the posts. You have these big flowers as big as your hand. There'll be 50 of them on a Clematis. If you fertilize the thing right, boy, it just really goes crazy. Nothing's like it. It can be a ground cover. Just out in the garden, spreading in amongst all the butterfly bush and all the roses. It's stunning. And we grow them really well here. Clematis is, if you've not tried it. Now, we're deep into the garden plants. So typically, Clematis have been saved for just true hardcore gardeners. But I think in the mountains of Arizona, Anyone can grow them. In a container, super easy. Put a post, put a structure, put an arch, and it will just naturally grow up. It's a true perennial. That is, it comes back year after year. It'll hibernate basically underground. Then it comes back with all this fresh new growth every spring. And they typically start to bloom about the first day of summer, somewhere in there. So we're talking into May, June, somewhere in there, they start to bloom. Of course, we've cheated here. We've got several. The early bloomers, we've got them at the garden center, kind of the most common varieties. We've got rare varieties coming in a month. And so I think the first week in June, we're going to have a Clematis festival. It's going to be big. There'll be hundreds of them, every color you could think of. We're going to have a pre-order this week where you can kind of jump the line and kind of grab yours, because I know they will fly out of here. They will be all in full bloom. I've got 6 varieties no one's ever seen, from a new double pink to a new red and pink stripe. Very cool. Pure, the purest white you've ever seen. Just striking. Oh my gosh, beautiful. Typically, they're all going to be the summer variety bloomers that are part of this festival, we're going to call it, first week in June. I would say, if you see an email coming, if you see social media posts, if you see things, grab yours, because I've got limited. Plants are limited. You commit to your crop, you try to guesstimate as best you can, and hopefully you got it right, but I never have enough, it seems like. Clematis, if you've not tried to grow them, they're so easy. Try one. I've got a couple containers, probably about 16-inch. I've got one 18, one 16-inch. They're bigger pots. I've got some decorative structures, some fancy iron that I have in there. I'm going to plant one, and then have it grow in amongst and train it to be the shape of that structure. It's going to be striking. So again, with Clematis, I can go in further with that. Don't have a time here, but basically when we have the festival, I'll go deep into how to grow a Clematis. And what I gave you was rich soil, have the tops grow into the sunlight, and keep their roots protected from sunburn, and you've got it. Fertilize. We make a special flower power that really makes them bloom like crazy. If you've not followed us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we got it. X, we've got a presence. We're pretty much, and if you want to see garden content, if you want to see my backyard, I just took a photo or video of what just came off the dock. Those are all those things are postings. It's the way I live my life, kind of exposed, but it's also, I live a beautiful life where you get to see all the latest, greatest stuff coming into the garden center, or things I see out in the community. I share that because gardeners, we like to inspire each other. We like to promote each other. We like to encourage each other here at Watters Garden Center. Ken here at Watters Garden Center, and we had a new flower come in. It's one of my favorites. We got it last year as a test, soft launch. This year we went all in because it performs well. It's a new sunflower. It's called Sunbelievable. The reason it's called Sunbelievable is supposed to put 1,000 flowers on, 1,000 sunflowers per year. I don't know if it does 1,000, but it does hundreds and hundreds, I can tell you that. So this is done. It automatically sets a new flower by itself. So a new one's coming up. So it's always got more flowers coming up. Unbelievable flowers. Those unbelievable flowers, sunflowers, here at Watters Garden Center. Available for your gardens this year. Watters Garden companion plants in May are vining akebia, purple robe locust, Prescott sunshine geraniums, and Indian hawthorn.
Wind is no problem for this Indian hawthorn.
Rose-colored flowers cover this spring bloomer that often repeat blooms in fall.
Dark blue berries adorn this compact bush that takes the wind and soaks up the sun like a native.
Perfect for low-maintenance gardens with virtually no pruning, ever.
Every backyard should have at least one, and only found here at Watters Garden Center in Prescott.
For a more fruitful garden, increased success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe to your favorite podcast streamer or visit wattersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Watters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.